It was discovered at that time Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was experiencing a serious medical-related issue and transported Mr. Bollea to Morton Plant Hospital, where he died at 11:17 a.m.
The house stood in silence as if it were holding its breath. Inside the gym, the air felt unnatural. Spotless mirrors, weights aligned, not a trace of life. And then, in the middle of that frozen scene, Hulk Hogan's massive frame lay motionless, as though the room itself had swallowed his final breath. It was not just a death, it was a mystery staged in plain sight. The morning of death. The morning sun crept over Clearwater, Florida on July 24, 2025. Neighbors described the street as calm, ordinary, forgettable. But inside the mansion of a wrestling legend, something extraordinary had already unfolded. Sky Daly, Hogan's wife, returned home earlier than planned. She expected the familiar, his heavy footsteps in the gym, the faint clank of iron, maybe the sound of his voice humming through the halls. Instead, she walked into silence so heavy it pressed against her chest. She called his name once, no answer. She called again, louder this time. Only stillness. Her steps echoed as she moved through the hallway toward the back of the house, where the gym always radiated life and energy. That morning it felt wrong. The room was immaculate, too immaculate. And there, near the weight bench, was Hulk Hogan. Unmoving, pale, lifeless. Sky screamed. Panic ripped through her. Emergency services rushed to the scene. Paramedics worked frantically, compressions, oxygen, every desperate measure. But by 11:17 a.m. at Morton Plant Hospital, the official words were spoken. Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, was gone. At first, the explanation seemed simple. Age, decades of brutal matches, more than 25 surgeries, the toll of a body that had carried the weight of fame and punishment. A heart attack or stroke appeared inevitable, but in the hours that followed, details surfaced that made natural causes feel less like an answer and more like a question. First official explanation. News broke within minutes. Natural causes, the first headline said, almost too quickly. Doctors at the hospital whispered the same phrase: age, exhaustion, decades of punishment on the body. On paper, it fit. Hulk Hogan was 71. His body had been carved and broken by the ring, rebuilt through more than 24 surgeries. A lifetime of painkillers, adrenaline, and scars? Of course, the heart could give out. It was the easiest story to tell. Reporters filled the airwaves with tributes, clips of WrestleMania, his voice booming through packed arenas, his hand raised in victory. Fans clung to nostalgia. They wanted to believe the ending was simple, an old warrior finally at rest. But not everyone agreed. Within hours, whispers leaked from inside Clearwater. The scene didn't add up. The gym looked staged. The house was too quiet. And someone had tampered with the security system. Yet, no alarms had ever gone off. The official story gave comfort. But behind closed doors, investigators were already circling words that didn't match. Routine death was beginning to look like anything but routine. Suspicious details in the mansion. When investigators stepped back into the house, they noticed things that didn't belong in a normal tragedy. The gym was too perfect. Every dumbbell sat in its rack, every mat lay flat, mirrors spotless without a single fingerprint. Not a towel, not a bottle, not even the faint smell of sweat. It was a room meant for life, but it looked more like a showroom. One officer later admitted it felt frozen in time, as if someone had erased every trace of use. But who would clean so thoroughly in the middle of chaos? Then came the second detail, Hogan's state-of-the-art security system. Layered, redundant, designed by experts, every entrance monitored. Cameras recording to encrypted backups. And yet, on that night, it was useless. Not glitched. Not powered down. Manually disabled from inside. No alarms, no forced entry, no evidence of anyone breaking in. Just silence, as though someone who understood the system had flicked a switch. And there was one more thing, something small but disturbing. On a shelf beside Hogan's trophies, investigators expected to find his training journal. A notebook he had filled for decades with every workout, every note, every mantra. It was gone. Not misplaced, not buried under papers. Missing. The pristine room. The dead cameras. The missing book. 3 details that shifted a natural death into a puzzle too sharp to ignore. FBI involvement. By evening, Clearwater police knew the scene was bigger than them. The sterile gym. The disabled security system. The missing journal. 3 details too sharp, too deliberate. Within hours, black SUVs rolled up to the mansion. Federal agents stepped out, suits crisp, faces unreadable, carrying cases that hummed with electronics. The FBI was officially in control. They worked silently, methodically. Every surface swabbed, every fingerprint lifted, every electronic device seized. The hum of scanners filled the halls as agents pulled terabytes of data from Hogan's smart home system, his laptops, even his phones. The cyber division dug deeper. Cloud backups revealed encrypted folders created just days before his death. One file in particular stood out, time-stamped only 7 hours before Sky Daily's frantic 911 call. Its name was simple, just a single word, but the contents were locked under military-grade encryption. Agents traced system logs and found something more chilling. The entire mansion's security network had been manually accessed at 2:13 a.m., the night before Hogan was found. Not hacked from outside. Someone inside. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. And then came the discovery that made even the agents fall silent. A phone call, placed to Hogan 3 nights earlier. Untraceable, routed through servers across half the globe. 1 minute long. And in that 1 minute, Hogan, who had faced giants, lawsuits, divorces, surgeries, and scandals, had whispered a single word before hanging up. A word the FBI has never released. The cryptic phone call. 3 nights before his death, Hulk Hogan's phone lit up. The number was blocked, the origin hidden. Sky Daily later told investigators that when he answered, he didn't speak, he only listened. For nearly 60 seconds, Hogan stood frozen, his massive frame stiff, his eyes wide. She said she had never seen him look that way before. Not in the ring, not in courtrooms, not in the darkest years of his life. It was fear, pure, unmistakable fear. Then he spoke just one word. One word, quiet, almost broken. And then he ended the call. He never explained it. He never mentioned it again. But Sky swore something in him changed after that moment. The laughter, the lightness, the discipline he carried. Suddenly it was dimmer, as though a shadow had crawled inside. Investigators tried to trace the call. It bounced across servers in multiple countries, masking itself with every leap. The FBI's best cyber team couldn't crack it. The voice on the other end remains unknown. The contents of that 1-minute message remain classified. But the leak that spread through whispers inside the bureau was that the call was not random. It was not a prank. It was a mishboard. Trigger? Something had been set in motion that Hogan could not stop, and 3 days later, he was gone. Family history and personal scandals. For investigators, a man's death is rarely about the final 24 hours. It is about decades, decisions, enemies, secrets, and scars. And Hulk Hogan's past was filled with all of them. In 1983, he married Linda Claridge. 2 children, Brooke and Nick, and for a time, the family looked picture perfect. That image was polished on television in 2005 with Hogan Knows Best, a reality show that painted them as America's wrestling dynasty. But behind the smiles, fractures were forming. By 2007, scandal hit hard. A woman tied to Brooke's music career alleged an affair with Hogan. Hogan denied it, but the damage was done. Linda filed for divorce, and the split tore through tabloids like wildfire. 24 years of marriage dissolved in bitterness and accusations. Hogan himself later admitted the depression nearly consumed him. He confessed to standing at the edge of despair, even contemplating suicide. A second marriage to Jennifer McDaniel followed in 2010. That too crumbled quietly, ending in 2022. Each collapse left scars, emotional, financial, and reputational. Then came Sky Daly, the yoga instructor who brought him back into the light. In 2023, they married in Clearwater. Friends said she was his peace, his anchor, but not everyone approved. Most notably, Brooke was absent from the wedding. She posted cryptic notes about needing distance and protecting her journey. To the FBI, fractured families are never just background. Estranged children, bitter ex-spouses, broken friendships. These are fault lines investigators always study. Because in every life story, enemies are not always strangers. Sometimes they are the people who once knew you best. Medical angle and rumors. If his family history was turbulent, his body carried its own chaos. Hulk Hogan had lived through more than 25 surgeries. Knees, hips, back, replaced, repaired, rebolted. The man who once slammed giants had paid for it in steel and scars. In May 2025, just 2 months before his death, Hogan underwent a major spinal surgery, a 4-level anterior cervical discectomy and fusion. Doctors warned it was high risk, especially at his age, but Hogan had insisted. He wanted freedom from pain. He wanted to move again like the warrior he once was. Then the rumors began. A radio host, Bubba the Love Sponge, told his audience that Hogan had slipped into a coma. Social media caught fire. Fans believed the end had already come. Tributes, tears, and panic spread across wrestling forums. But Sky Daly pushed back hard. She posted on Instagram, "No, he's not in a coma. His heart is strong, his mind is clear, he's recovering." And for a time, her words calmed the chaos. Hogan even appeared briefly in public, smiling with fans, insisting he was fine. Still, doctors whispered among themselves. That type of surgery carries risks invisible to the naked eye. One in particular haunted them, the phrenic nerve, the one that controls the diaphragm. If severed or damaged, a person can suddenly stop breathing. No warning, no second chance. So when Hogan collapsed in his gym on July 24th, many asked the same question. Was this the silent ticking bomb from that surgery? Or was the surgery the perfect cover for something far more sinister? Brooke Hogan's demand. When news of her father's death reached her, Brooke Hogan did not remain silent. Their relationship had been strained in recent years, but blood ties run deep. And for Brooke, the details of that morning were not enough. She wanted answers. She wanted proof. She demanded a full autopsy, even offering to pay for it herself if that was what it took. Her voice cut through the media storm. "I don't want speculation. I want the truth. Every last detail." Clearwater police complied. They opened the case files to her. Body cam footage from that morning, the frantic 911 call from Sky Daly, the medical examiner's notes, everything was laid bare. What she saw broke her. Later, she admitted that hearing her stepmother's voice on the emergency call was 1,000 times worse than seeing my father's body. The panic, the desperation, the raw terror, it seared itself into her memory. But after reviewing the evidence, Brooke said something few expected. She was satisfied. She confirmed an autopsy had been performed. She acknowledged the paperwork, the medical records, the timelines, and for the first time, she told the public she believed there had been no foul play. Yet even with Brooke's acceptance, questions lingered. Because while she was ready to close the door, others whispered that it had only just been opened. The hidden room, the missing journal, the cryptic phone call. Pieces of a puzzle that the official reports never fully addressed. 10. The hidden room allegation. Just when the story seemed to settle, when the autopsy and Brooke's acceptance looked like closure, whispers began to surface. Not from tabloids, not from conspiracy forums, but from inside the second FBI sweep of Hogan's mansion. According to an unconfirmed leak, agents found something no one expected, a concealed entry in the basement. Behind what appeared to be an ordinary wall, they discovered a hidden room. It wasn't messy, it wasn't neglected, it was meticulous. Files stacked with precision, cabinets sealed tight, folders labeled with dates, and one folder stood out. It was marked with the date. July 23rd, 2025, just one day before Hulk Hogan's death. The contents of that folder remain a mystery, but whispers claimed it linked directly to the 1-minute cryptic phone call Hogan had received. What was in those papers? Financial records? Names? Evidence of pressure from someone in his past? No one knows. The FBI refused to comment. The official line never changed. No foul play suspected. Cause of death? Natural. But if the leak was true, then why hide the room? Why suppress the folder? Some believe Hogan had begun collecting information. Documents, contacts, secrets that someone didn't want made public. Others say it was nothing more than a personal archive, exaggerated in the retelling. But the very existence of the rumor turned a simple death into a national mystery. And once again, the public was left asking, if Hogan's final days were truly natural, why was there a room no one was meant to see? Rumors versus official story. Officially, the case was closed. Clearwater police and the medical examiner called it what it was on paper: a natural death caused by a failing heart. The files were neat, the statements aligned, the press release was short, firm, final. But outside the walls of authority, the storm refused to die. Podcasts dissected every frame of body cam footage. Fan forums traded theories late into the night. Some swore the hidden room was real. Others believed the missing journal held Hogan's darkest secrets. And the cryptic phone call, that single minute, became the center of endless speculation. What was the one word he said? Who was on the other end? Why did the FBI struggle to trace it? The internet filled in the blanks with wild theories: organized crime, old business enemies, shadowy government ties. Some stories painted Hogan as a victim. Others suggested he was holding secrets that could never be allowed to surface. Meanwhile, his family remained divided. Sky Daily pushed the line of medical malpractice, convinced something went wrong in his surgery. Nick Hogan turned his focus to silencing radio host Bubba the Love Sponge, suing him for spreading what he called reckless lies. And Brooke, though satisfied by the evidence, refused to speak further, leaving only silence in her place. Between the official record and the rumors, two stories now existed. One of a man who died naturally, finally brought down by age and pain, and another of a legend whose final days were tangled in secrets that may never be revealed. For millions, Hulk Hogan was not just a wrestler, he was an era. The golden-haired giant who lifted Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3rd, the voice that thundered, "What you gonna do, brother?" The man who turned wrestling into pop culture. His face was on lunchboxes, movie posters, video games. To fans, he was immortal. And yet, even legends are human. His body broke. His family fractured. His final days spiraled into questions that no headline can fully answer. In Clearwater, murals of Hogan's larger-than-life image now cover brick walls and storefronts. Candles burn at makeshift memorials. Fans leave belts, flowers, handwritten letters. Some honor the man. Others whisper about the mystery. Was it simply the last breath of a body pushed too far? Or the silencing of secrets no one was meant to know? The FBI will not comment. The police stand by their report. But the missing journal, the 1-minute phone call, the rumored hidden room, these details refuse to die. So Hulk Hogan's story now lives in two places: in the ring, where he was a titan of strength and charisma, and in the shadows, where his death lingers as a puzzle with missing pieces. Hulkamania may have ended on July 24th, 2025. But the questions he left behind, they will echo long after the last bell has rung.